Hello, friends. This is Mr. Jeter. I was asked recently for some ideas for parents. There are a lot of stressed out parents out there right now, and a lot of stressed out students. And if you want to have your child spend some quality time, here's a kind of a different idea, something that could, hopefully something they would enjoy doing, that could occupy some of their time in kind of a healthy way. I'm going to share with you just a really brief, simple tutorial on how to use a software program called Stellarium. Stellarium, my favorite thing about it, it's free, absolutely free. You go to stellarium.org. That's the page that I have up right here, stellarium.org. And at stellarium.org, you see here, you pick what type of operating system that you use at your house. So in this case, I would have Windows, or you might have a Mac, a MacBook or something. So that's what you would pick. There's also a web version, so you don't even need that. There is a web version. I don't like it quite as much. It kind of doesn't have as many bells and whistles, but it may serve your purposes just fine. So I just want you to see what that looks like. You download it for free, and then when you click on it, and that's the little icon right there, the little crescent moon. And when you click on it, it's going to look like this. And I'm going to go ahead and pop this up to full screen for you. Okay, so when it first opens, this is what it looks like. In case you're wondering, that is not any place in particular. Even my high school kids, they all think that this is like some location right here, but it's not. It's just some random picture here that they're using. Okay, but you don't want just any random location. So you have to go over here to the left. There's a hidden bar on the left, as you can see. And at the very top, it says location window. So the very first thing you need to do is click that. Okay. When you click on that, look at that. Mine's already set up because I've used this a few thousand times. So there's that little red arrow that's pointing to where I live in South Florida. And I'm just going to assume I'm just going to use this tutorial mainly for people in this area, but wherever you're at, of course, you would just type in your city here if you'd like to do it that way. You can get really specific, by the way, and put in an exact latitude and longitude if you'd like. It turns out there are only two parklands in the United States, Washington and Florida, so you'd click on that, or Coral Springs. Here locally, I actually live in Coral Springs. And then down here, you would click that's your default. And that way, every time you open it up from then on, you won't have to do this step ever again. Okay, so type in your city or town and have it save that. That's step one. Now you can click on this location window again and make that disappear. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is right below it, the date and the time. So right now, it's daytime when I'm recording this. So it's showing that it's a daytime sky, right? So you're going to want to use this in the evening. So let's just say, and what's cool is you can plan ahead. If you know it's going to be cloudy tonight and clear tomorrow night, you could plan ahead. It doesn't really matter. If you're just trying to learn the sky for your kids, they can pick whatever date they want. They can even go back in time if they want. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stick with today, April 16th, and I'm going to bump this up so it's 12:20. That's Eastern time. So 1:20, it's military time. So you add 12. So 14:20 would be 2:20. And I'm moving on up and watch the sky change. It's really kind of cool. Look at this. At 6:20, looks like it's going to kind of be dusk. And look at this. It's 7:20. By 8:20, there are the stars. So you start to see that. So you want to move up to a time, obviously, when the sky is dark, so you can see a lot of things. So I'm going to go ahead and close this window. And that's the most important thing to get started with, really, is picking a time and a location. Now, underneath this is a really cool way to specialize this to what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, to make it specialized for you and what you would like to see in the window. Customize, that's the word I'm looking for. To customize it. I don't want to get that deeply into this right now. Instead, let's go down again, just do the basics. So at the bottom here, there's also another hidden bar at the bottom, as you can see. And so down here at the bottom left, I personally like to see the constellation lines. So I click that. Ooh, and there they show up. Because really, one of the main things that your kids could learn from this is how the sky is divided. And it's fascinating. And the history of constellations is fascinating. Some of them go back thousands of years. And some of them are relatively new. Some constellations were only created about 100 years ago. So it's really interesting. And then right next to it is constellation labels. So when we use this in class, I always have the kids, start with that. Now, some other ways to customize it at the bottom. Okay. Let me see a little more of the sky here. Look at this. So right there, I see a very familiar constellation. It's called Canis Major, the big dog, right? So one thing that the kids will love to do, they always want to know, what is that really supposed to look like? So right next to this, and I don't use this too often in class because education-wise, it's an astronomy class, but and I'm more into the science of it, but the kids love this. So click on Constellation Art and watch this. Look at that. Now you can kind of get a rough idea of what people were thinking when they came up with these constellations. So you can see Canis Major there is the dog, and Lepus next to it is the hare, and so forth. So anyway, some of them look like what they're supposed to, and some of them don't. You'll learn that right away. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the art for a moment here and just focus more on the individual stars. But the kids are going to love that. Okay? All right. The other thing that I personally like to click always and have the kids right over here, and it doesn't default to this, but there's a button for deep sky objects. And if you click on that, you can see where all of these wonderful star clusters and nebulae and so forth are at. And I'll show you how to zoom in on those in just a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and put those out. All right. There are a lot of other things down here, exoplanets, all kinds of stuff. And again, the kids can go nuts with this. They can just spend hours trying different buttons and see what happens. But I'm going to stick to the basics. So one basic thing is just getting around the sky. Ready? Here's one method. You take your click, you click and drag. Click and drag. I can click around the whole sky that way. Oh, there's Venus. Look at that. Venus has been so gorgeous in the sky to the west. I'm getting lots of messages asking about Venus. That's one way to move around. A little more elegant way is with the arrow keys. Watch this. I click the arrow key and it just spins very smoothly, or I can go up and down and spin around whichever way I feel like. And the kids they'll love that. Okay? Oh, there's Gemini, the twins. Okay, so that's how you move the sky around. Next lesson, and I'm not going to go too deeply into this, would be, zooming in on things. All right, zooming in on things. So let me think here. What do we want to zoom in? Oh, yeah, let's zoom in on the this area right here. Well, I want to get the exact one. Anyway, when you click on something that you want to zoom in on, one thing you can do if you want to actually, zoom in on it, if you hit the space bar, let me do one that's kind of off the beaten path here. Oh, Flaming Star Nebula. So I click on that, and if I hit the space bar, watch what happens. It centers it. Okay, it centers it. The other thing that happens when you click on it at any point, look at this. It has tons and tons and tons of information. Okay, we don't even go through all of this in class. That's a lot of information. Hopefully my students, by the end of the year will understand, a lot of it. But obviously this depends on the age level of the child that's doing it. But there's so much information. If they're not sure what stuff is, have them look it up, tell them to find out. What does that mean? What is magnitude and things like that? Anyway, to zoom in on something, which is really fun, the easiest way, once you've clicked on something, you can click page up or page down. That's, to me, the best way to do it. There's several ways to do it. Watch this. I'm going to click page up, and I start zooming in on that patch of sky, and there it is. So that's a nebula right there. Okay, and I can click page down to zoom out. And it's really, really fun to go through the sky and look at different things. Let me zoom in a bit here and show you, for example, a star cluster here. We'll start with one of the most famous ones of all. So let me center it here, and then we're going to zoom in. Look at this. That's the Pleiades cluster. Pleiades cluster. Ooh, I think that's a satellite going by. What is that? Now, I can go down here. I'm going to do this very quickly. I'm just going to stop time. Kind of a fun thing to be able to do. Let me catch up to this thing. Yep, look at that. It's a NORAD satellite. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I've paused time. Now, when you click on something and you don't mean to, you can do a right click. So watch this. I do a right click and it clears the screen. All right, so that's a pretty necessary little thing. I'm glad I thought of that. That's a good one to know. Okay, and that's it. I mean, go exploring. It's really, really, really fun. And of course, you can zoom in on planets. Now, the only planet out right there is Venus. So I'm going to move ahead just for fun very quickly. I have to show you this. Let's move ahead instead to the wee hours of the morning. Let's go to 4. Now we'll go to 5:30 in the morning now. And now we're going to, let me zoom out just a bit. So remember, that's page down. I can zoom out a bit and then flip around the sky here. Oh, look at this. Look at this. So you may have heard about this. Look at this incredible alignment in the sky. Now, this would be for tonight or technically early tomorrow morning. Look at this. We have the moon, we have Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. We have a planet parade going on. That is pretty neat. All right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And the reason they're in a line, by the way, in case you're wondering, is that the solar system is flat. We live in a flat solar system. And so all of the planets are going to always, and the sun and the moon, are always along a certain line in the sky called the ecliptic. And it's called the ecliptic is because that's where eclipses occur. Since the sun and the moon always hang out on that line, that's where they would cross each other and have an eclipse. So that's why it's called the ecliptic. But this is one of those rare times when you see it so beautifully in the sky, how well they are lined up right along the ecliptic. That's pretty neat. So again, if you want to zoom in on one, let's zoom in on Jupiter. So I'll click on Jupiter. I hit the space bar, and then I'm going to hit page up and just zoom in. And one of the cool things about Jupiter is, of course, it has 4 large moons. Ooh, look at that. And I can see, oh, look at this. So at this particular time, tomorrow morning, it looks like all 4 of its large moons, sometimes called the Galilean moons, discovered on January 7th, 1610 by Galileo. So look at that. They all happen to be on the same side of Jupiter this next morning. So that's kind of cool. And there's beautiful Jupiter itself. So it's just it's a ton of fun, this whole program. And then to follow up on this, I would suggest, if the kids really enjoy this, then get them one of the apps for your phone. Something like Star Walk is one. Okay, there may be free ones. I think some of them aren't too expensive if you do have to buy it. But get Star Walk, and then after learning it inside, they can go outside and point it up at the sky and learn it that way. That's kind of the next step, which would be really fun if they're able to kind of go outside on the sidewalk and at least find, the Big Dipper. Things like that would be really neat. Or if they want to get up really early, they can see this cool planetary alignment just with their eyes. So anyway, folks, that's just an idea for you parents out there looking for some quality time for your kids to spend. Looks like it's going to be a crescent moon. Oh, that's gorgeous. Tomorrow morning. And some of these things you could even see, maybe you don't have a telescope, even with binoculars. If you have binoculars, or, that's something you could see, that Pleiades cluster. And, it's just a lot of things like that you can see with your eyes or with binoculars, and you don't even need a telescope. So this is called Stellarium. It's free. If you have any specific questions and we're friends or whatever, just send me a message and I'll be glad to help you out. Enjoy.